Hello, nerds! Thank you for joining me here on Nerd News Clips. This is the second channel. This is the place for all of the short-form content as well as the individual sections and just generally speaking smaller things. If you are into the longer form content, youtube.com/generallynerdy is the place to go see that. With that out of the way, let's get into this. Now we're getting into comic books and literature. So for this section, I honestly didn't think we were going to have anything, just because not a whole... We've covered this previously about how there are always books happening. It's just not... We're not going to get into individual episodes because that would be a waste of my time being this one guy that does this channel. So whenever they announce new books, whenever, you know, major arcs are announced and that kind of stuff, that's what we cover here for comic books and literature. As far as literature goes, when we finally get Doors of Stone and when we finally get the end of the Song of Ice and Fire books, then we're going to be talking about those. I don't know, literature is kind of a rough one as well, but this is where the viewers come in, man. This is where you go down to that comment section and say, hey, what's going on with this book series that I've been actively reading that's very, very nerdy in nature? Or what's going on with this author who wrote this nerdy series that is now not doing it because that series is done, they're moving on. What are they moving on to? When is it coming out? That kind of stuff. Let me know what you want me to cover in this section, because I know what I would cover if we were talking about individual issues of comic books, or if we were talking about old school cyberpunk science fiction, because that's the kind of stuff I read all the time. But that's not the kind of stuff that makes sense to cover here. So yeah, we do have some stuff to talk about though. We have one follow-up to start things off. That follow-up has to do with the Gargoyles comic books from Dynamite Entertainment. The question was raised to Greg Weisman: is the new Dynamite comic book series canon? Absolutely, came the response. Yes, in fact, everything that has come out for the for the Gargoyles rather is canon, except for the Marvel comic books that came out some years ago. The SLG comic books that came out first, those are canon to the cartoon, and then this Dynamite series is canon with that same canon. Everything just kind of meshes together again, except for the Marvel books. Now we know for certain. Let's move right along to the regular old news. We got some regular old news about Alien, the Alien book that we talked about when Disney first got the rights to Alien and all of the comics and everything else. They put out a book, and then that book came to an end, and then they put out another book starting with another #1, and that book came to an end, and now we have another Alien book, but this one's a little bit different. The reason this one's a little bit different is the reason this one is a little bit different is because Phillip K is not going to be the writer on this project. Instead, Declan Shalvey is going to be writing it. Phillip K. was the writer for the previous 2 series. It also is confirmation that we will be relaunching the Alien books every few years with each different iteration. So it's not going to be a whole lot of continuation in the world of Alien. I don't know that that's necessary. You can still build a universe without it. So we'll see how it plays out, but that's what we got there. Let's move right along. Next, we're talking about Ghost Rider. We got a new Ghost Rider book. We honestly have now, I believe this is book number 4 that's going to be actively coming out for this character. Seems a little suspect. We don't have a Ghost Rider movie at the moment. But that's all speculation for a different day. We're not even covering that in the rumor mill this time around. But there are some rumors around that I want to touch on for that in a future episode. So subscribe if you haven't already. But either way, right now, Ghost Rider Danny Ketch will be returning to the title in May, as announced by Marvel. The new Rider book will take place in, quote, an older time, unquote, in the mythology for the character. So it's not going to be current timeline, current continuity. It's going to be a throwback book, I believe is the specific word that they used. And the synopsis for the book is as follows. Flashback to a time when innocent blood was spilled, a spirit of vengeance was born, and Danny Ketch found himself transformed into the Ghost Rider. The synopsis reads, gang war is breaking out across New York City with Ghost Rider caught in the middle. But if it's just rival gangs killing each other, does Ghost Rider need to get involved? This book will be out on store shelves May 17th. That's what we got on that one. Let's move right along. Our final regular piece of news for this episode in comic books is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: The Last Ronin is giving us a couple of other storylines in this Last Ronin timeline, and it's kind of cool. So TMNT Last Ronin, there's a new book coming out called Lost Day Special. So there is the Lost Days story arc that is going to be coming out, written by Eastman and his new writing partner. But this is going to be a one-off special book, and it sounds like it's going to be like prestige format with the thickness and the stuff. Eastman and Tom Waltz, illustrator Ben Bishop, and colorist Luis Antonio Delgado will deliver a tale about the 4 new turtles that were teased at the end of the original story. So yeah, this is just, the Last Ronin stuff is quite good. You should be reading it. That's not our suggestion, though, for the day, though that is a good transition into comic book suggestions. Might I suggest Action Comics number 1051? That's right, Action Comics modern Superman book is what I'm suggesting, which I didn't expect, but this is a little better than anticipated. About 2/3 of this is better than anticipated. 1/3 of this is like, yeah, that's exactly what you wanted. 1051 is the first book where we're going as a monthly publication instead of as a weekly publication, and it's anthological, so there's multiple stories in each book. In this book, we have the Super Family expanding and assembling for a grand opening. We have the Kent family heading back to the farm and unexpected doom, and then we have Power Girl becoming a therapist. That's kind of what I mean about 2/3. Anyway, go check it out. It's worth a read. That's what we got for comic books and books. Once again, this has been just a brief segment from the larger episode that has been posted over on the main channel, youtube.com/generallynerdy. Go over there for the long form content, or just subscribe here if you want it in bite-sized chunks. Thank you very much for joining me, nerds. We'll see you in the next one. Before we go, though, always remember that if it's generally nerdy, it's probably here.